Wolves are complex creatures, intelligent, elusive, and deeply bonded within their packs. They hunt together, raise pups together, mourn together. But around humans, they are cautious, shy, not because they are weak, but because they've learned to be wary. Centuries of conflict have taught them that our world is not always safe for theirs. They live as one, bound by blood, by instinct, by trust. Their strength is not in solitude, but in the pack. They move together, hunt together, raise their young together. They see silence, they feel connection. We call them shy, they call it survival. Dogs are man's best friend. They've lived alongside us for thousands of years. Working, protecting, and playing, they understand our gestures, respond to our emotions, and thrive in our homes. From herding livestock to guiding the blind, dogs have earned their place in our lives. They're loyal, adaptable, and deeply connected to the people who care for them. Combine them together and we have Wolfdog. Wolfdogs are a unique blend of wild and domestic, part wolf, part dog. They're not a breed but a genetic mix. Each wolfdog is different. Some lean toward dog traits, others toward wolf instincts. Their behavior and needs can vary widely, even within the same litter. With this, the life of a wolfdog isn't easy. They're often caught between two worlds, too wild for a household, too tame for the wild. Many are surrendered, abandoned, or euthanized because only few understand what it means to care for a wolf dog. They're not pets in the traditional sense, and they're not wild animals either. They exist in a gray area, between instinct and domestication, between freedom and confinement. And in that space, they still deserve respect, protection, and a place to belong. And Yamnuska Wolfdog Sanctuary is giving them that. Located just outside Cochrane, Alberta, Yamnuska Wolfdog Sanctuary sits on a 160 acres of open land nestled near the Rocky Mountains. Welcome to Yamnuska Sanctuary, where the wild
needs compassion.
It's home to over 55 permanent wolfdog residents, each with their own story, many rescued from abandonment, neglect, or surrender. Founded in 2011 by Georgina DeCaney, the sanctuary was born out of a need to protect wolfdogs and educate the public. She built Yamnuska not just to rescue the wolfdogs but to serve as a learning center for us all. Today, we are taking you to this extraordinary sanctuary to meet the majestic wolfdogs,
Learn about their stories and discover why this place is more than just a shelter.
it is a movement,
It is a mission, and it's
it's
absolutely
absolutely
unforgettable.
Marky and I joined the interactive tour to get a first-hand feel for the Wolfdogs.
Mostly if we just kind of ignore them and let them do their thing, they'll check us out for a second and then they'll go lie down, which they totally might do anyway.
It's not just a walkthrough, it's a chance to be in their space, observe them, and start to understand why they're so often misunderstood. The experience is close enough to feel their presence, but always designed with their comfort in mind.
All of these guys are litter mates. All of these guys are about a year and a half old. So here on the right hand side, right in front of me, the one not on a leash, his name is Ash. Ash here is one of the two males in this enclosure. He tends to really love to go and make his rounds and get a little scratch. Next up we have got Sage. She's our little orange one. She is as sweet as her name suggests. She's really just a shy little girl who's blossoming lately and really hanging out with people more, which is wonderful to see. She loves to flop over with people she knows and get belly rubs. Right now she's either burying something or trying to uncover something. Next up we have got Willow, who is somewhere. Over here, she was the one laying on the stool. Willow, what's this one? What's this? She's like, I don't want to be part of that. So that's Willow. She'll come on over in a bit when I get the more interesting stuff out, I'm sure. And then finally, we have got Yarrow here. Yarrow, as you guys probably saw, he's an absolute sweetheart. He's the largest of the litter. He is kind of the most social with new people. He's very, very, very confident. And that is the reason why Mr. Yarrow's got to be on a leash and why sometimes he's a little bit naughty. Because he really displays more of that doggy personality in a lot of ways, where he is confident enough to nibble on things and to test boundaries. Whereas his siblings have a little bit more of that wolfy wariness, a little bit more aloofness. They're not going to go and nibble on your sock because they're scared you might bite them, right? So with Yarrow, we see a little more of that, and so he actually needs a bit more management, not because he's more wolfy, but because he's actually wolf dog.
We came expecting to see wolf dogs, maybe even pet them, get close, snap a few cool shots to show our viewers. But Yamnuska isn't that kind of place. It's not about casual contact. It's about meaningful, respectful interaction, learning patience, and I realized that sometimes the most memorable moments aren't about touch. They're about presence and accepting that you're not the boss here. They are.
We've got animals that are 1% wolf, we've got animals that are 99% wolf, right? So you see a huge range and variation in wolf dogs. And basically, the way that we can kind of categorize our wolf dogs, especially because we get rescues and we have no idea what they might be. But these guys are all low content, I already mentioned that. But essentially that's going to mean they're anywhere between 1% up to about 50% wolf. So they're more dog than wolf, but they've still got some in them. When we go next door and see our higher content wolf dogs, you'll see how much it matters what content a wolf dog is. So I'm going to go ahead and do our treat rounds here. Basically, I'm just going to hand out a small handful of treats to you guys. These guys know the drill. Got your hand full. I'm going to strongly urge you to hold your treats in one hand and offer one at a time using the other hand, because they will clean you out instantly. You don't want that to happen. These guys know their manners, as you guys can tell. They are, however, really pushy because they love their treats. So if they're up in your space, just hold that handful nice and high. Don't let them bully you into just giving it away. And wait until they're a little more relaxed. They also know how to sit. You can ask them, but they don't have to sit. And yeah, the last thing is just if you're offering them a treat or you have a treat, you can ask them to give it to them, not withhold it for a picture or anything like that.
But here's the twist. If you wait on their terms, not yours, they might come to you. That moment you've been longing for, the soft gaze, the slow approach, the sniff of approval, it happens. But only if you've got the goodies. Because let's be honest, wolf dogs are transactional. And that's not the wolf in them, it's the dog. Dogs evolved to work deals with humans. Sit equals treat, stay equals berry rub. Wolf dogs inherited that hustle. Respect earns trust, but snacks seal the deal. So yes, you might get that magical moment. Just know it's less spiritual connection and more, I smelled beef jerky in your pocket.
Them. We're not going to reach out toward them. But yeah, any questions about any of that? Welcome to our cascade enclosure. And here I already introduced that, but yes, this one is Cedar here. This one is Juniper, his sister, and then this one here, this is Nova. Under the tree, Rue is still considering whether we are worth standing up for. Rue is very, very cat-like. She's very aloof. Good job, Juniper. And she very, very much is a transactional animal. She always is asking,
smiling.
Is it worth it? So yeah, very much more of a wolf-like personality than these guys. Nova here, he is 13 years old. He has been doing these tours his entire life. He's never been touched by anyone he doesn't know, right? He is also very wolf-like in every way except his confidence, right? He is very comfortable having people in his space even if he doesn't want to get touched by them. So that really is a pretty doggy trait. If we were to put a pack of pure wolves in this enclosure, we would never see them, right? They would be really scared of all strangers. They'd be hiding. So Nova's here for a reason, but it's because he's been doing this his whole life. He's grown up doing it. But yeah, does anyone want to take a crack out of the four or those two? Which animal in here is our high content wolf dog?
That one.
We got votes for Rue over there. Any other guesses? Yeah, so Rue, she's not super visible. There we go. Now she's getting up. Rue is a very popular guest because of her attitude, right? She's very, very, excuse you. Relax.
Oh my
god. Very, very aloof. She's very, very kind of just like, I don't really care as much as these guys. So while she does have that wolfy attitude, Nova here is actually our high content wolf dog. Nova is well over 90% wolf. He is really not showing us any physical doggy traits. He's got that big head, those massive feet, those long legs, the kind of slim build of a wolf. Whereas Cedar, in comparison, for example, he's a bit of a tank. He's got these wider shoulders, those shorter legs, those tiny paws, really small head compared to Nova here. So you guys can just kind of see for yourself those physical differences, and then the difference in attitude is also quite clear. So given that, you guys can imagine that what it means to have an animal like Cedar in your house is very different from what it means to have an animal like Nova or Root in your house, right? And so this is where many wolf dog owners run into trouble, is because they're expecting an animal like Juniper here or like Yarrow. They want a pet, essentially, and it's in the word. You want them to sit, you want them to stay, to come when you call, to sit around at your feet and get pet all day. With Nova and Rue, even with the people that they love most in the world, you get usually one greeting a day. It's an acknowledgement, it's a hello, and then they're done with you. And if you go sit next to them all day and you try to pet them, they're gonna get up and leave. If you do it again, they're gonna get up and leave. Again, maybe they'll get up and leave. Fourth time, they're pretty annoyed. They might go, you know? And that's when people go, God, my animal's, you know, vicious. It's trying to hurt me. When in reality, they're just different, right? They are much more like cats. They don't have that instinct to want to get touched all day. They want their space. They want their autonomy. They really need their freedom of choice. You can see here at the sanctuary, we do our best to give them the biggest spaces possible so that they have that choice. They can do what they want in any given moment. So with these guys, usually people get them as young puppies. They're really cute. They're very handleable. Breeders very often just tell people, you know, they're going to act like a dog, but you know, they're going to look like a wolf. A lot of people are not expecting the intensity of care that they require, especially with these higher content wolf dogs like Nova and Rue. One, you just need the right setup. You do need that space, not necessarily because they just need to run around all day, but because if they don't feel safe, they're going to get really anxious. And these guys are incredible escape artists. You guys can see our fencing. You'll see more of it as you walk around the sanctuary. But 6 foot is nothing for them. 8 foot, usually nothing for them. So you need at least 8 feet tall fencing with that lean in on top so they can't just climb up and over. You also need dig guards because these guys can dig. So you can't see it, but buried underneath the ground here is many feet of metal in the ground so they can't tunnel out if they ever decided they wanted to. So that right off the bat, that kind of enclosure setup is very different from what most people have in their backyard or from what they're expecting to have to build for their cute little puppy. Wolf dogs are really loud. Again, personal experience. These guys love to howl. You guys might even hear that while you're here today. And neighbors don't like it when they do that at 3 in the morning. So usually people end up with some pretty unhappy neighbors between the howling and the really giant fence and the digging and all of that. So that's another kind of complication when it comes to wolf dogs that you don't have when you get a normal dog. And then another major one, and sometimes the major factor, is just, I call it recreational destruction that these guys like to do. But essentially, they're just very curious animals. They're incredibly intelligent. They always want to be doing something. They will investigate their environment around them. And when they're in a house, this means things like shredding your couch for fun, ripping up your drywall, the carpet coming up off the floor. You guys will even jump through windows if they want to go outside versus just asking you at the door, because in their mind, it makes more sense to solve their own problems, right? And so all of these behaviors, the shredded house, the torn up yard, the giant fence, the howling, the complaints from neighbors, this is usually what leads to wolf dogs ending up being surrendered, being given up on, because if you don't have the right setup for them, it's really hard to overcome that, right? So I've seen a lot of people where in order to succeed with their wolf dog, including myself, they need to change their living situation. It's just not something that you can force, right? You can't stick them in a crate all day. You can't train them like a dog. You really need their own space and autonomy. Does anybody here have a dog? Oh yeah, a lot of you guys. Did your dog ever roll on something?
Yeah.
Usually horrible. Yeah, so with wolf dogs and with normal dogs, they do inherit this from their wolfy ancestors. You can thank them. But this is essentially a way for them to communicate with each other out in the wild. So if Nova were a wild wolf, he might wander off on his own and just explore, try to find rabbit, whatever. And he might find something really interesting. It could be poop, it could be a carcass, it could be anything new. And so his instinct will be to do that. It will be to rub his neck all over it, to cover his whole body in the smell. And then when he returns to the rest of his family unit later, all of the wolves could smell him and figure out what is out there and be able to go find it too if they want. So for wolves, this has a purpose. For our dogs at home, they just instinctively do it. And they are having the time of their lives while you're screaming at them to stop.
interactive tour, we joined a wisdom session, standing just outside one of the enclosures while a sanctuary staff member was inside. From our side of the fence, we watched her interact with the wolf dogs and listened to her stories about them. You could tell this wasn't just a job, it was a relationship built on trust and time.
What three dog breeds do you see most often in our wolf dogs? You can just shout them out.
Husky,
Husky, yeah.
German Shepherd,
German Shepherd.
Malamute.
Malamute, exactly. So, what you guys are seeing with these two, they have these beautiful Arctic wolf coats to them. So where you're seeing a lot of this kind of length in their manes, these kind of big tufts on their cheeks. In terms of their physical build though, this is where brother and sister, they're vastly different. Kior, she's more on like the shepherdy side with her build. She's got this shorter frame, more of this kind of barrel chest, and she has a lot more of this kind of dog physique. She kind of looks, again, yeah, more like a shepherd. In terms of their facial features, as these guys pop their heads up, you're going to be seeing they do still have these really wolfy, long, narrow faces to them. They've got these angled, little slightly almond-shaped eyes. You can see that even more so on Silent. But Silent, his build, he's more so got the size of a wolf but the body of the dog. So a lot more of his Malamute is coming through with his big blocky head. He's still got this big neck, this big chest to him. But again, he's got that height and that size of a wolf. And so Silent, he is one of our heaviest wolf dogs, weighing in at about 160 pounds. And a lot of that weight comes from his dog, because wolf dogs, depending on how much wolf they have in them, wolfier they are, the more lean they tend to be. They can be physically big, but they're going to carry their weight more like a greyhound would. Whereas our lower contents you guys are seeing with Pure, what you guys are going to see maybe on your dogs that you guys come across on the street or at home. On the other end, we have 71 animals here on the grounds in our care. And so with those 71 wolf dogs, we average in the summer about 180 pounds of food in a day. In the winter, sometimes up to 250, especially when it gets really cold. One thing with wolf dogs, and again, with Pure kind of hanging further back, they don't want to engage with things unless they're absolutely certain that they're going to be confident, that they know how to navigate it. And so they're not going to be like that big bad wolf, that confrontational, aggressive, malicious kind of animal, but they're going to be a lot more on like the cat-like side of things. Any weird noise, movement, anything that's happening, even just that. She kind of realized there's people right there, and she kind of went, do I want to keep doing this? And so it's a way for them to keep themselves safe, because survival goes one of two ways. For some animals, it's territorial. This is mine, you can't have it. And like grizzly bears, they're going to often be a little bit more intense about that. But wolves, they're very elusive, they're very cautious. They don't like to be detected. They like to kind of move in silence, and they don't like, confrontation. It means they can get injured. It means they can impact their family. It means that they're not going to be able to keep up in the same capacity. And so that's where survival is more so a me first mentality for wolf dogs. Here at the sanctuary, because all of our animals come to us, they're here for the remainder of their lives. Whether it's an owner surrender like this pack where life got in the way, whether it's going to be something more in line with an owner who had no idea what she was doing, and so that got in the way, where you start to see their destructive behaviors, their escapism behaviors, their aloof behaviors starting to just become exasperated in the house and home. That's when people realize they don't just look like a wolf and act like a dog, they're also acting like a wolf that shouldn't be in a house. Other times they're coming from like backyard breeders or more neglectful cases, hoarding situations, so they just were never socialized to begin with. And so while our wolf dogs are here, this is kind of best case scenario. Legally, all of our animals are domestic dogs here in Alberta, but on the other end, rescues and shelters won't take them, so this is why the sanctuary is here for them, to provide that kind of safe haven when things don't work out. And so once they arrive here, and throughout their entire lives essentially, they've always been bred by people for people. These animals have all these wolfy instincts, but very poor ways of executing them. So they do have a prey drive. They'll sometimes hunt the birds or like the voles that live in the ground. But other than that, they don't really get to hunt anything. Everything else is much smarter than to stick around here for too long.
Then we went on the sanctuary walk. It's self-guided, but it feels more like a mellow hike with wolf dogs occasionally drifting into view. Each pack has its own spacious enclosure, so sightings depend on where they feel like hanging out and whether they feel like being seen. It's quiet, scenic, and just unpredictable enough to keep you scanning the trees like you're in a nature documentary.
Owning a wolf dog could be cool. The expectation would always be that, I don't know with you, but for me, it would look like a wolf but behave like a dog. And unfortunately, when you get a puppy, that's not gonna be the case. It's always gonna be unpredictable. So when owning one, you have to really educate yourself as to the pros and cons of owning a wolf dog.
So one of the heartbreaking things that we've learned during this tour is that when owners decides that they can't take care of wolf dogs anymore, it becomes challenging to give them up because no dog shelter will take them, and some sanctuaries are no longer able to accept
Yes,
new wolf dogs.
yes,
So keep that in consideration if you're looking into getting one.
yes. And unfortunately, if they really need to give them up and nobody is gonna take them, no sanctuary will be able to accept them, then they will have to be euthanized. And that's sad.
When we hear wolves, the first thing that comes into mind is big and bad. And we have the fairy tales to blame for that, of course. But apparently we learned a valuable information today that wolves, they're not necessarily bad. They just survive.
They're aloof.
Yeah.
They are
They're not
shy
even
creatures.
Yeah, and they're not even confrontational.
Yes. They're like cats, actually.
Yeah.
They are like cats in a dog's body.
Yeah, or
In a-
cat OS running in the dog hardware. And we also learn a very interesting aspect about the relationship between wolves and one unpredictable creature, and that's the raven. It has been observed that ravens, they tend to enjoy playing with wolves, especially the pups.
Because the wolves can provide them food, and maybe ravens are like wolves as well, like they are transactional animals. They are just hanging out with the wolves because they can
They get
help
something out of
them.
it.
Yeah, they can help them get their food. What do you think the wolves can get out of a raven, though?
Fun.
Friendship.
Friendship. Cool factor. Imagine a wolf hanging out with a raven.
Yamnuska isn't just a sanctuary for wolf dogs, it's a reality check for humans. Because as majestic as they are, wolf dogs aren't pets. They're complex, instinct-driven animals that need space, structure, and respect. Owning one isn't just a lifestyle, it's a lifelong commitment most people aren't ready for.
So they have like a
little test your knowledge board here. So, if you want to play, let's do this. So first, what are some of the ways people can coexist with wild wolves? So think of an answer. And did you got it right? Next, maybe we'll just pick one more board. True or false? Wolves are vicious and aggressive animals. I think this is an easy one. So think of an answer and then let's find out if you are correct. This sanctuary is so big. It is 160 hectares and we are lost. We want to go back to the visitors building and we are finding our way. This feels like a maze.
Thank you for watching. Keep shining. Happy wandering.
Welcome to Yamnuska Sanctuary, where Welcome to Yamnuska Sanctuary, where the wild
And
Today we are taking you to this and it
it's
is
absolutely unforgettable.
again take two. Today we are taking you to this extraordinary it's not making sense. I'm not making sense.